Warbreaker is a Cosmere novel by Brandon Sanderson, and it is my favorite standalone Cosmere work by far. I love the characters, the magic system, the world building, everything about the novel. And since I've been reading 1-star reviews of Cosmere books I enjoy, I thought I might as well do Warbreaker as well. Now, I'm not trying to make myself seem better than the reviewers I react to, and my opinion isn't more valid than anyone else's. I'm just someone who likes to discuss and debate topics I'm passionate about. This isn't some analytical breakdown of someone's arguments, this is just my reaction to these reviews I disagree with. And these videos are of a much more laid-back style than I normally do. Just a fair warning to those of you who are more used to my more planned out and structured style. Anyway, let's start with the first review, shall we? This reviewer says, I did not like this book at all and consider it the poorest book written by Brandon Sanderson. Stereotypes and shallow characters, plot seems lame. Considered giving up reading it halfway, but finished by sheer willpower. So, in the last video that I did like this, I did make a point of mentioning how I don't really enjoy it or really respect reviewers who would review a book or a work or anything like that, but they haven't actually finished it. The main reason for this is that I feel like sometimes, especially with works of fiction like books, the ending really makes the book. The last quarter can really make maybe the first 3 quarters that was maybe a bit slow and plodding or not as enjoyable completely worth it. So that said, I did get a lot of comments where people said that it's completely understandable if you don't finish a book and then review it, purely because if you're the kind of reader who enjoys something and you did not enjoy a book to the point where you couldn't finish it, it is your duty to tell other readers like yourself that this is one of those where you might not be able to finish it. I'm not so sure where I stand on that point because I still feel quite strongly about my opinion, but I can also see where other people are coming from. And I just wanted to mention it because this reviewer here says that they finished it through sheer willpower. So I have a lot more respect for this 1-star review just based on the fact that they actually finished the book, even if they didn't enjoy it. I feel like as a reviewer, you owe it to both the author and the audience who might read your review to actually finish the book and give your proper thoughts on the completed product. But this is a debate I don't think we're going to get to an answer or mutual understanding on anytime soon, so let's go on to the next review. In this review, Sue says, okay, this is the second book by Sanderson that didn't work for me. I'm nearly 200 pages in and nothing of any consequence or interest has happened. Perhaps I need a break from Sanderson. I have loved many of his worlds, magic systems and characters, but this book and Oathbringer have both suffered from way too much information and not enough substance. Okay, first of all, Sue, I'm going to stop you right there because Oathbringer is one of the best books in the Cosmere and you can fight me on that, but of course it's all just opinion. Anyway, so this is an example of a reviewer who didn't finish the book. She says she got nearly 200 pages in, and if you look at the review, you'll see that she put it on the shelf of couldn't finish. So this is actually where I'd like to extend the question to you, my dear viewer. What do you think? Do you think that a reviewer owes it to not only the person reading the review, but to the creator of the content that they're reviewing as well to finish it and see it to completion? Or is it completely valid that if they didn't enjoy it or they couldn't stand it or couldn't force themselves through it, that they just, gave up? Which is the correct path of action to take? I'll leave it up to you guys. You know where I stand on it, but I would definitely like to see what you guys think. Anyway, let's go on to the next review. This next review says, spoilers, duh. Now, it's not really spoilery, so don't worry if you haven't read Warbreaker yet. But anyway, let's go on. Katerina says, I think I just aged 50,000 years while reading that. This sentence sums up all of my thoughts on Warbreaker. All in all, Warbreaker is literally 45% talking, 30% thinking, 15% walking around, 8% more talking, and 2% plot development. Possibly the most disappointing read of the entire year. Now, I can completely understand why people would have these criticisms of Warbreaker. Warbreaker does have a lot of talking and scheming and plotting because its central conflict at the end of the book is politically motivated. It's a political mystery with some thriller elements thrown in there, but it's mostly focused on the political ramifications of this country's expansion and how they have subdued a certain class of people that eventually just couldn't take it anymore. So of course there's going to be a lot of discussion. Warbreaker was never set out to be a very action-packed novel. If you want action-packed, read Mistborn or the Stormlight Archive. So in my opinion, at the very least, this reader went into it expecting something that definitely wasn't even part of the offering from the get-go. I think that if you're going to read a book on fantasy, number one, your mind needs to be open to the plot being almost anything because fantasy is so broad. But number two, you really should do yourself the favor of just looking up a spoiler-free review or the blurb on the back of the book to see if you're going to enjoy it, because this is a case of someone not liking the kind of story it is, when had they known it was that kind of story by doing a bit of research, they wouldn't even have given it a 1 star because they wouldn't have tried it. But I guess that's just my opinion. I mean, I always look at the kind of books that I review. I always look at the book ahead of time, read up on it. Don't spoil it for myself, but at the very least make sure I understand what kind of book it is I'm getting into so that I can give it a more fair review. But I guess that's just my opinion, and I probably shouldn't hold some random Goodreads reviewer to the same standard I hold myself. Anyway, let's go on to the next review. There aren't a lot. I decided to keep this video a bit short. Oh, I really like this one. Steven says, "Say colors one more time." Like Elantris, Warbreaker is a well-plotted but uninteresting YA fantasy, to me at least. Most people seem to love them, but I just couldn't care about the annoying characters and rolled my eyes at the constant no shit Sherlock explanations. 95% tell, 5% show. I hope you experience what others seem to when reading Brandon Sanderson. I really like the guy in interviews, blog posts and talks, but had no love for these books. I might try again with the Stormlight Archive, but there's probably not much chance they'll click with me either. The search for great fantasy goes on. So I can completely understand where he's coming from here. He clearly says this is a kind of book that he just didn't enjoy, but he gave legitimate reasons why. He says that it's an uninteresting YA fantasy. Now, while I will not agree with the fact that it's YA, I can definitely see how people wouldn't be enjoying Elantris or Warbreaker. I myself didn't enjoy Elantris that much, and Warbreaker, while I did enjoy it, I can see a lot of its flaws, and I can see why a lot of people wouldn't. He says it's 95% tell and 5% show. I disagree with that. I feel like Brandon does a good job of showing us a lot, but I think this comes down to the fact that a lot of the plot is centered around political movements, talking to people, scheming, things like that. It's not a lot of action, it's not a lot of fast-moving plot, not a lot of fighting scenes. It's very much a political mystery, so I think if people knew that going in, it would definitely make it a bit easier to enjoy the book, or at the very least understand where Brandon was coming from. I think we only have one more review left, so let's get on to the next one. Oh, I really love this one. So here we have an example of two people from completely different sides of the spectrum. So the first one is someone who clearly doesn't like things like nudity and language, things like that in their stories. They say, "Brandon, why? Sexual content and nudity within the first quarter of the book. I placed it down with tearful eyes. I had such high expectations." Now, I mean, it's completely valid if you don't like that kind of content. If that's something that just instantly puts you off, you can't stand it, whether it's for personal or religious reasons, doesn't matter. If you don't like it, then that's completely valid. But I love how they say that it's got the sexual content and the nudity, and then the very next comment says, "This trash is for children." Now don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that your opinion is wrong here, but if one guy says that it's too risque for him, and the next guy says it's for children, so I just thought that was a bit funny, you know, seeing the one person shun it and say that it's too risque even for them, whereas the next person says it's for children. So yeah, I just thought that was pretty funny. Anyway, but that's basically all the reviews. I have cut down the amount of reviews I'm reacting to in these videos, as you'll notice. This one's a lot shorter than the previous ones. I just felt that they went on a bit too long. If you preferred it with the higher amount of reviews, please let me know in the comments below, because I would then rather do that. I really want to make the kind of content you guys enjoy. So if you like the more reviews, let me know and I'll go back to that. Or if you prefer the shorter version, let me know and I'll stick to it. But anyway, that has been it from me for today, guys. Thank you very much for watching. My name has been Raven and I will see you next time. Take care, everybody.